The evening sky painted itself in soft strokes of amber and violet as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the narrow streets of Fulton Avenue. Cars sped past without slowing, each one hurrying somewhere important, oblivious to the quiet lives unfolding on the sidewalks. For Jordan, Trey, and Marcus, 3 young black teenagers navigating a world that often overlooked them, this was their everyday backdrop. Jordan tightened the grip on his basketball, the worn leather comfortable in his hands. Trey leaned casually against the cracked streetlight pole, earbuds dangling loosely from his ears, rhythmically nodding to an unheard beat. Marcus stood silently beside them, a little quieter, his mind always racing a mile ahead. Their laughter echoed through the street, pushing against the invisible walls society had quietly built around them. Then something unusual broke their familiar routine. Just down the street, under the dim glow of the streetlights, a sleek luxury sedan sat awkwardly tilted, hazard lights blinking helplessly. Its polished exterior gleamed out of place against the tired bricks and cracked asphalt of their neighborhood. Trey was the first to notice, pulling the earbuds out and squinting down the road. "Yo, is that car stuck or something?" he asked, motioning toward it. Jordan followed Trey's gaze, curiosity instantly piqued. "Looks like a flat tire." Marcus raised his eyebrows, skeptical. "You ever seen a car like that around here?" "Probably lost." But as they watched, the driver's door opened and a man stepped out, tall, silver-haired, wearing a dark suit clearly tailored by someone who measured importance in fine stitching. He stood beside his expensive ride, hands on his hips, visibly frustrated as he scanned his surroundings helplessly. After a few uncertain moments, he took out a phone, glancing around nervously as if unsure whether help would come. "Should we help him out?" Jordan asked quietly, glancing at his friends. Trey shrugged and Marcus hesitated. "Man, I don't know. Looks like he can call someone who can actually help," Marcus replied cautiously. Yet something tugged at Jordan. Maybe it was the frustration on the man's face, or perhaps the echo of his mother's gentle words that replayed endlessly. You never know when kindness might change someone's life, including your own. Jordan made his decision. Without waiting for further input, he started walking toward the stranded car, Trey and Marcus hesitating only briefly before following. Their footsteps sounded louder than normal, their sneakers crunching over loose gravel as they approached the man, who noticed them with a sudden wary alertness. Jordan could sense his unease and spoke softly but confidently to reassure him. "Need help with that tire, sir?" The man looked uncertain, scanning the 3 teenagers carefully as if assessing a threat. But something in Jordan's earnest expression softened him. He sighed deeply, dropping his shoulders with obvious relief. "Yes, thank you. I'm afraid I don't even know where to start," he admitted, offering a weary smile. Marcus, who'd spent countless weekends helping his uncle in the auto shop downtown, stepped forward immediately, taking the lead. "We got this," he said confidently. "Pop your trunk, we'll take care of it." With smooth familiarity, Marcus removed the spare and jack, quickly setting to work while Jordan and Trey held their phones up for extra light. The billionaire watched silently, visibly surprised by their competence and efficiency, his initial apprehension now replaced by quiet admiration. Within minutes, the spare tire was securely in place. Marcus wiped his hands on a rag, stepping back proudly. "You should be good now, sir." The man nodded appreciatively, reaching into his jacket pocket. The teens exchanged quick, uncertain glances, but he only produced a simple leather wallet, pulling out a crisp $100 bill. "Please, let me pay you for your help," he offered earnestly. Jordan shook his head gently, raising his hand. "No thanks, sir. It's okay. You needed help, we were here, that's enough for us." Their quiet dignity visibly touched the man. For a moment, his carefully guarded expression broke, revealing genuine surprise and gratitude. "Well, at least tell me your names," he requested softly. "Jordan. Trey. Marcus." The man nodded deeply, committing the names to memory. "I'm Henry Stanton," he said quietly. "I won't forget what you've done here tonight." They watched silently as he climbed back into his car, started the engine and slowly drove away. As the taillights disappeared around the corner, Marcus chuckled softly, breaking the thoughtful silence. "You think we'll ever see him again?" Trey laughed lightly. "Rich guys like that? Doubt it." Jordan said nothing, staring thoughtfully at the empty street, a feeling lingering deep in his gut. Something told him their encounter wasn't as trivial as it seemed. The rest of the evening passed quietly, their usual routine returning seamlessly, laughter and jokes picking up as though nothing extraordinary had occurred. But deep inside each of them, an impression had been made, an imprint of their own kindness etched quietly in their hearts. The following morning arrived gently, sunlight filtering through the worn curtains of Jordan's bedroom window, warming his face as he stretched lazily. He was halfway through brushing his teeth when the sound of a deep engine rumble outside caught his attention. Curious, he wiped foam from his chin and stepped over to the window, pulling aside the curtain. Parked in front of their modest home was a black SUV, polished to a mirror finish, sunlight dancing off its tinted windows. Jordan felt his heartbeat quicken, an inexplicable feeling of anticipation flooding through him. Moments later, a crisp knock echoed clearly from downstairs. His mother's cautious voice drifted up to him, questioning, uncertain. "Jordan? You expecting someone?" He wasn't. Yet deep down he knew exactly who had arrived. Pulling on a fresh shirt, Jordan hurried down the stairs, his mother stepping aside to let him pass. Opening the door, he found himself face to face with two well-dressed figures in suits, one of whom offered him a warm, reassuring smile. "Good morning. Jordan, is it?" the taller man asked gently. "Yes," Jordan replied carefully, trying to hide his nervousness. "My name is Miles. I'm here on behalf of Mr. Henry Stanton. Do you have a moment to talk?" Jordan exchanged a quick glance with his mother, who stood behind him, equally intrigued yet guarded. She nodded quietly, curiosity overcoming caution. "Go ahead, Jordan," she said softly. Jordan stepped outside onto the small front porch, gently closing the door behind him, breathing deeply. The sunlight felt brighter, the air filled with possibilities he couldn't yet fully understand. Miles took a careful step forward, voice gentle and sincere. "Mr. Stanton told us everything about last night, how you three young men helped him when he needed it most. He's deeply moved by your generosity. More than that, he's convinced your kindness deserves recognition." Jordan felt his chest tighten, disbelief and excitement wrestling within him. Miles smiled knowingly, sensing the question unspoken. "Henry Stanton isn't someone who forgets kindness easily," Miles continued softly, extending an elegant, sealed envelope. "He asked us to personally invite you, Trey and Marcus, to meet with him today. He'd like to repay your kindness, in a way he believes might truly change your lives." Jordan took the envelope cautiously, the fine paper soft beneath his fingertips. It wasn't money, it was something more profound, more lasting. His heart raced as he gently tore open the flap, pulling out the beautifully printed invitation inside. It read simply, "Come prepared to discuss your dreams." Jordan's hands trembled slightly, possibilities cascading through his mind. He had always dreamed big, but dreams felt safer in secret. Now, standing on his porch, invitation in hand, Jordan felt the powerful shift of his future beginning to unfold. "Tell Mr. Stanton," he finally replied, looking Miles squarely in the eyes, voice steady and sure, "we'll be there." Miles nodded approvingly, a genuine warmth in his expression. "He'll be glad to hear that." As the black SUV pulled smoothly away, Jordan stood still, a quiet sense of destiny washing over him. He realized clearly now that yesterday's act of kindness hadn't been just a passing gesture. It had been a test, one they hadn't known they were taking. And somehow, incredibly, they had passed. Jordan went inside slowly, heart racing, the invitation carefully held tight. He knew with absolute certainty their lives were about to change forever, because sometimes, all it took was one moment of courage, compassion and kindness, to alter the trajectory of fate itself. Jordan's fingers drummed anxiously on his knees as he sat sandwiched between Trey and Marcus in the back seat of the black SUV. The leather interior felt impossibly smooth, a world removed from the cracked vinyl of his mother's old sedan. Through tinted windows, the familiar streets blurred into unfamiliar avenues, mansions rising from perfectly manicured lawns, sleek driveways snaking up toward estates guarded by wrought iron gates. A mixture of awe and uncertainty filled the air, hanging thickly between the three friends. "You ever been out this far before?" Trey whispered, eyes wide as they passed homes that could comfortably fit their entire block. Marcus shook his head quietly, eyes glued to the window. "Nope," Jordan finally answered for all of them, his voice low. "This place looks like it belongs on TV." Their driver, Miles, glanced at them through the rearview mirror with a gentle smile. "Mr. Stanton's been looking forward to seeing you. We'll arrive shortly." Minutes later, the SUV smoothly passed through a set of large gates that opened as if by magic. Gravel crunched beneath the tires as they drove toward a massive house, its white marble columns rising gracefully to meet a roof that seemed to touch the sky. Trees lined the long driveway, their branches swaying gently as if in greeting. Miles parked carefully, stepping around to open their door. Jordan stepped out slowly, the clean scent of blooming flowers mingling with the cool afternoon breeze. Trey and Marcus joined him, eyes darting around the sprawling property. Before they could speak, the grand front doors swung open, and Henry Stanton himself walked toward them, a warm smile softening the intensity of his eyes. His silver hair caught the sunlight, giving him an almost ethereal appearance. "Gentlemen, I'm glad you could make it." "Thanks for inviting us, sir," Jordan replied respectfully. "Henry, please," the billionaire insisted, extending his hand warmly. "Come inside, we've got plenty to discuss." As they stepped into the expansive foyer, the marble floors echoed softly beneath their footsteps. High ceilings stretched upward, adorned with subtle chandeliers that glowed gently overhead. Jordan found himself momentarily speechless, trying to absorb the surreal surroundings. They entered a cozy yet luxurious sitting room, with soft armchairs arranged around a polished wooden table. Stanton gestured for them to sit, his demeanor relaxed yet purposeful. "Last night, your kindness left a lasting impression," he began earnestly, leaning forward slightly. "I've spent my entire life around people who often place more value on what someone has, rather than who someone is. You three reminded me of something important, something I haven't felt in a very long time." Trey shifted nervously in his seat. "We just did what anyone else would have done, sir." Henry smiled knowingly. "That's exactly the thing not everyone would have. Your actions spoke volumes about your character. I'd like to hear about your dreams, your goals. I want to help make them possible." A stunned silence hung in the air. Marcus glanced at Jordan, then back to Henry, voice hesitant. "What do you mean exactly?" Henry leaned back slowly, interlacing his fingers thoughtfully. "Opportunities are not evenly distributed. Talent is. Ambition is. Kindness certainly is. But access to opportunities? Rarely." His eyes scanned the three boys carefully. "Tell me, if money wasn't a barrier, what would you each truly want to achieve?" Marcus was the first to answer, voice filled with quiet determination. "I want to open my own auto shop one day. Teach others how to work with their hands, fix things, build things." Henry nodded approvingly. "A noble goal. And you, Trey?" Trey took a breath, hesitating briefly. "Music. It's all I think about. Producing, creating, giving people something real to listen to." Henry smiled, genuine appreciation in his eyes. "Music has power, more than most people understand." Finally he turned to Jordan, whose heart raced wildly. "And you, Jordan?" Jordan hesitated for only a second, then spoke clearly, firmly. "I want to be a lawyer. Fight for people who can't always fight for themselves. Protect communities like ours from being overlooked or ignored." Henry's expression shifted subtly, his eyes glowing warmly. "Justice, creativity, innovation. You three are exactly why I invited you here today. Ambition without opportunity dies. Talent without support withers. I won't allow that to happen, not after what you did for me." He leaned forward, his tone direct and earnest. "Marcus, there's an apprenticeship waiting for you, fully funded, at the finest automotive academy in this state. Trey, you'll have studio access, mentorship, everything you need to start producing professionally. Jordan, I'll cover your college tuition and law school expenses in full. You'll intern at my personal attorney's firm until you're ready to strike out on your own." Stunned silence filled the room, each boy absorbing the weight of Henry's words. Jordan felt his throat tighten, an unfamiliar wave of emotion washing over him. Trey was the first to find his voice, eyes glistening. "Why would you do all this?" Henry's voice softened, filled with deep sincerity. "Because kindness deserves to be rewarded. Because when someone sees your potential clearly, it's their responsibility to help bring it out. You three showed me something extraordinary. Courage, compassion, integrity. That's worth investing in." Marcus shook his head slowly, disbelief clear on his face. "I don't even know how to say thank you." "You already have," Henry assured gently. "Last night, in a single gesture, you showed me who you really are. And now I want to show you who you can become." As the SUV drove them home later, Jordan stared silently out the window, his heart racing with excitement, fear, hope, and possibility. Their lives had changed dramatically, not through luck, but through the simple decision to do what was right. Trey and Marcus sat quietly beside him, each lost deeply in thought, contemplating futures they'd only dared dream of before today. When they finally arrived home, Jordan stepped out onto the pavement, feeling it beneath his feet differently this time, firmer, brighter somehow. He knew they had crossed a threshold, entering a world where their dreams could truly thrive. He exchanged glances with Trey and Marcus, the unspoken promise passing clearly between them. They had changed their own lives through one simple act of kindness, and from this moment onward, they would not waste the extraordinary opportunity Henry Stanton had placed before them. Days quickly melted into weeks, and the lives of Jordan, Trey, and Marcus transformed beyond recognition. Each morning felt like stepping into a new world, brimming with possibility, excitement, and responsibility. The path ahead, paved by Henry Stanton's generosity and their own dreams, challenged them in ways they'd never anticipated, but the three boys refused to let the enormity of the opportunity slip away. For Marcus, the apprenticeship became his second home. He spent long hours learning beneath seasoned mechanics and automotive engineers, his hands growing rougher and his confidence more assured. Each tool he mastered felt like a new key unlocking his future. On evenings, Marcus would return to Fulton Avenue exhausted but exhilarated, eager to share stories with his friends about rebuilt engines and complex diagnostics. Yet it wasn't the machines that moved Marcus most, it was the pride he saw in his uncle's eyes, and the younger neighborhood kids who watched him now with hope and admiration. Trey's music journey took him deep into a world he'd only dreamed existed. Late nights turned into early mornings in the studio, beats pulsing, melodies unfolding under the mentorship of industry veterans who quickly recognized his unique talent. His natural creativity bloomed rapidly, songs evolving from hesitant notes into confident symphonies. The studio became Trey's sanctuary, a place where he could translate his experiences, fears, and dreams into music that resonated deeply with everyone who heard it. He realized for the first time how powerful his voice truly was, how deeply music could touch lives, bridging gaps that nothing else could. But Jordan's path proved perhaps the most challenging. His entrance into college was swift and demanding. Nights blurred into days as he navigated thick textbooks, endless lectures, and rigorous examinations. The law firm internship tested his resolve even further. Briefings, cases, endless paperwork, and courtrooms that felt daunting and distant. Yet despite fatigue, Jordan refused to falter, driven by a fire kindled deep within him, the promise he'd made to himself and to his community. He knew his success wasn't just about personal achievement, it represented hope, proof to those who doubted that someone like him could stand tall and powerful in spaces traditionally denied to people from his neighborhood. Each weekend, the boys met up at the park near Fulton Avenue, the place their dreams first intertwined. Those moments became their anchor, grounding them amidst the dizzying changes. Laughter echoed again beneath streetlights, their conversations now richer, infused with purpose. Marcus would talk about opening his own garage someday, where young kids from their neighborhood could find a safe haven and learn skills to build better futures. Trey spoke of touring not for fame, but to spread messages of strength and unity, to show other youth that art was power and their voices mattered. Jordan quietly shared his determination to change laws, to stand for people like them in courtrooms where justice sometimes felt absent. Henry Stanton checked in regularly, his genuine investment clear in every phone call, every message of encouragement. He wasn't a distant benefactor. He became a mentor, a source of advice and quiet wisdom when the weight of their responsibilities threatened to overwhelm them. Yet he never took credit, always reminding them that their achievements belonged to them alone, that his role had merely been to open doors which their own courage had carried them through. One evening as the trio finished dinner at Marcus's house, a soft knock drew their attention to the door. Jordan stood to answer, finding Henry Stanton standing quietly on the small porch, hands in his pockets, smiling warmly. "Good evening, gentlemen," he greeted gently. "Mind if I join you for a moment?" Marcus quickly invited him in, Trey clearing space at the table. Henry sat quietly, a comfortable familiarity in his presence, his silver hair catching the gentle glow of the dining room lights. "I wanted to come see you in person," Henry began quietly, sincerity radiating from him. "You've each done more than I ever imagined. I've watched you carefully and your progress, your integrity, has genuinely inspired me. Your stories have reached far beyond this neighborhood. You've proven how transformative genuine opportunity can be." Jordan leaned forward, earnestness filling his voice. "We've only done what you showed us was possible." Henry shook his head gently, eyes deeply thoughtful. "No. You did what you always could. All I did was clear away obstacles. That night, when you stopped to help me, you reminded me what kindness truly means, how simple gestures can ripple outward, changing countless lives." He reached into his jacket pocket, placing 3 identical envelopes on the table in front of each boy. "These are not charity, not rewards," he explained carefully. "These are investments, in your visions, your communities, your futures. Use them wisely however you see fit." The boys carefully opened the envelopes, their hearts catching as they saw checks for amounts larger than they could have imagined. Silence filled the room, heavy with gratitude, disbelief and quiet awe. Marcus finally broke the silence, voice filled with emotion. "You changed our lives, Mr. Stanton." Henry smiled softly, sincerity clear in his eyes. "No, Marcus. You changed mine." Later, as Henry's SUV disappeared down the street, the three friends stood quietly on the porch beneath the stars, their lives irrevocably altered. The gravity of their responsibility now clearer than ever, but also brighter with purpose. Jordan turned slowly to Trey and Marcus, the strength in his voice unshakable. "This isn't just for us, it never was." Marcus nodded deeply. "Exactly. It's our turn now. Our turn to open doors, to lift people up like he lifted us." Trey smiled warmly, looking up toward the vast night sky. "And maybe someday," he added softly, "someone else will feel this hope just like we did." Standing together, the three young men realized their greatest success wouldn't be measured by wealth, fame, or titles. Instead, it would be defined by how many more lives they could touch, how many more paths they could open for others who simply needed a chance. With that silent promise made beneath a sky filled with possibility, the boys stepped forward into their futures, not just empowered by Henry Stanton's generosity, but forever guided by their own courage, their own kindness, and their own unbreakable bond. The years passed gently, reshaping lives, neighborhoods, and dreams. The ripple of kindness Jordan, Trey, and Marcus had once created, with nothing more than an act of compassion, had grown into a wave of lasting transformation. Each had fulfilled their promises, carrying the torch handed to them by Henry Stanton forward, illuminating paths for others to follow. Marcus's garage, now a prominent fixture in their neighborhood, became far more than just a place to fix cars. It had blossomed into a thriving community hub where young people learned valuable trades, gained confidence, and discovered they had potential they never imagined possible. Marcus never turned away anyone seeking guidance, teaching them skills, patience, and integrity. He stood proudly among gleaming tools and humming engines, watching lives transformed as surely as the vehicles he meticulously restored. His uncle, now aging gracefully, sat often in the corner, eyes misted with quiet pride as he watched Marcus continue their legacy. Trey's music resonated far beyond their city, his message clear, powerful, and deeply personal. His songs topped charts not for their catchy hooks, but for the profound truth he wove into each lyric, stories of resilience, compassion, and hope. Trey never lost sight of his roots, frequently performing benefit concerts and dedicating resources to build music programs in underserved communities. He saw every child holding a new instrument or writing their first lyrics as a reminder of his purpose, proof that art could indeed change lives. Jordan had not only become the lawyer he'd dreamed of being but had grown into a fierce advocate for justice, respected in courtrooms and community centers alike. He worked tirelessly, defending those who couldn't afford representation, championing reforms that brought fairness to places long overshadowed by inequality. His voice echoed powerfully in halls of government, schools, and neighborhood meetings. Jordan's determination became a rallying cry, inspiring younger generations to believe justice wasn't just a distant ideal, it was something tangible, achievable, worth fighting for every single day. One evening, many years after that pivotal encounter on Fulton Avenue, the three men gathered at Marcus's garage, a familiar place that still held the echoes of their youth. Laughter filled the workshop, warmth radiating from their voices as they reminisced about old days, still fresh and vivid in their minds. Then, amid their laughter, Jordan paused, his eyes catching something through the open garage door, a familiar black SUV parked quietly at the curb. Recognition and warmth flooded his chest as he stepped outside, Trey and Marcus following close behind, anticipation clear in their eyes. Henry Stanton stood quietly beside the SUV, older now, his silver hair glowing gently in the fading sunlight, eyes still sharp, kind, and wise. A soft smile broke across his face as he stepped forward, embracing each of them warmly. "You've made me proud beyond words," he said quietly, emotion rich in his voice. "I've watched you all grow, build, and inspire. You've become everything I hoped and more." Marcus nodded deeply, eyes shining with emotion. "Everything we've done, you started it." Henry shook his head gently. "No, Marcus. You were always ready, all I did was open the door. What you've accomplished, how you've helped others, that's entirely yours." Trey stepped closer, sincerity clear in his voice. "We just kept our promise to you." Henry smiled warmly. "You kept your promise to yourselves, to your community. You took a single moment of kindness and turned it into something extraordinary." Jordan's voice was steady and clear. It didn't stop with us. We made sure of that. Henry placed a gentle hand on Jordan's shoulder. Exactly. That's why I'm here today. To thank you, each of you, for reminding me what truly matters. I learned more from you three that night than you ever learned from me. He stepped back slowly, his gaze sweeping affectionately across the three of them. Keep going, he urged softly. Keep inspiring. Keep building. Keep giving people something to believe in. Henry turned quietly back to his SUV, pausing briefly before entering. And always remember, it's never too late or too small a gesture to change someone's life. As Henry's vehicle faded into the distance, the three men stood quietly, feeling the weight of his words. They understood clearly now what true success meant, not wealth or status, but lives touched, communities strengthened, futures brightened by simple acts of kindness. Jordan glanced at Marcus, then Trey, seeing clearly how far they'd traveled. They'd started as boys on a street corner, dreams buried beneath the weight of circumstance. Now, standing together as men who had transformed those dreams into realities, they felt the profound responsibility and honor of continuing Henry's legacy. Jordan took a deep breath, breaking the reflective silence. We started something special, he said quietly, and we're nowhere near done. Marcus nodded deeply, eyes shining. Every kid who walks through this door, he gestured toward his garage, is another life changed. Trey smiled thoughtfully. Every song, every lyric, another voice heard. Jordan's voice strengthened with conviction. And every case I fight, every law I challenge, another step toward fairness and justice. The streetlights flickered gently above them, stars beginning to emerge from the darkening sky. Fulton Avenue had once seemed a small, insignificant street. Now it felt vast, filled with possibility, a testament to the power of kindness and courage. The three friends stood shoulder to shoulder beneath the quiet night, united not just by memories but by purpose. They knew their greatest accomplishments would never be measured in dollars or fame. Instead, their legacy would be the countless lives uplifted, the communities forever strengthened, the dreams they had made possible for so many others. They had become living proof that a single act of compassion could indeed reshape worlds, bridge divides, and set powerful examples for generations yet to come. As they finally stepped back inside, each felt a quiet certainty, knowing they'd already made a profound difference, and yet still had so much more to offer. They would continue forward, honoring the promise they'd silently made all those years ago beneath the quiet glow of a street lamp, determined never to lose sight of the simple truth Henry Stanton had helped them discover. Real change doesn't begin with wealth, power, or influence. It starts with kindness.